Oh, we got the tech issues figured out. Welcome everybody to another Vikings Vintage Show. This week we are talking about what Jet McKinnon win the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. We're talking about Vikings players and coaches that after they have left Minnesota have gone on to win, which is something they haven't done in Minnesota.
Vikings, let's win this game. Score Vikings, honor your name. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run out the score. You'll hear us yell for more. V-I-K-I-N-G-S. Score Vikings, let's go.
Man, I love that opening.
It's a good opening.
Yeah.
It's a good opening.
So with Jet McKinnon winning for the Chiefs, playing for the Vikings, I'm not talking about guys who are like special teamers and maybe played for Minnesota and didn't contribute anything.
So we're not going to bring up Heath Farwell.
But coaches who used to be in the coaching sphere of the Vikings and players who contributed is the ones we're talking about. Like Pete Carroll, Mike Tomlin. So the curious thing is they were able to get it done someplace else, but not Minnesota. So why not Minnesota?
The biggest one that you mentioned out of the one you didn't mention, Buddy Ryan.
Right. Well, I was just throwing some out. We're going to talk it through, but I was just those were just ones I was just throwing out there. Yeah, the earliest one that left and won. Was there like someone who was released from the Vikings and then they left and went to another team that contributed before free agency
and won a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
The only one I can think of, and it wasn't even a player, was Buddy Ryan as a coach.
Yeah.
As far as players went,
Zimmerman was pretty early.
Tony Galbraith won a Super Bowl with the Giants. We traded Tony Galbraith to the Giants in '84 for Brad Van Pelt, who never played it down with the Vikings. So he got a Super Bowl, but he was basically he was like a third down back by then.
Yeah. Yeah, there's other ones. I mean, if you just want to go with coaches first, we can do that. Just coaches will probably be a little bit easier. Pete Carroll was a coach in the early 80s with the Vikings. And
yeah, Pete Carroll.
We saw what he did with the Seahawks.
Right. Mike Tomlin with the Steelers.
Mike Tomlin.
Buddy Ryan with the Bears.
Buddy Ryan, yep. So, I mean, Billick with the Ravens.
Oh, John Tierlink won 2 Super Bowls with the Denver Broncos.
The defensive line coach, right? Defensive line coach, right?
Yeah, defensive line coach. So he won 2 Super Bowls.
I mean, it's pretty. I mean, it gets pretty. Extensive when you think about it. All the people who've been through the Vikings organization.
Oh, we forgot one. Brian Billick.
Well, no, I said Billick.
Oh, you said
Billick. Yeah. But it's just weird how the Vikings shown that they know talent just by their coaches and the players, that they had, not even won the Super Bowl. But there's also there's plenty of guys who went to Super Bowl and didn't win, who never went with Minnesota, But you got like your Rich Gannons and stuff like that, those type of guys.
Right. You've got Rich Gannon, Esra Tuaolo, Charlie West played in other Super Bowls besides the Vikings. I don't know. It's hard to say with those Bud teams what exactly was the problem. They got outplayed, but to be so good during the year and then get there in the Super Bowl and then everything just fall completely flat, that, you're kind of like, what the hell happened? Where do you put the blame? It's kind of hard. Just nobody was ever ready. and but they were just and it's not like they didn't have good players.
Yeah, it's just because I was just thinking about this. I was just thinking about it because we've talked about this off camera before. Um, and then when I saw the Chiefs winning and Jet McKinnon, I was like, that would be good because it shows that the Vikings can know talent as far as coaching talent and players and stuff like that. It's just as a team, as a Vikings team themselves, they can't seem to get it done. You know.
No, they can't put it together for whatever reason. And I wish I knew. I mean, you have 4 chances to win a Super Bowl. Now, granted, they were not playing pushover teams.
Yeah.
But you just never, and the showing was bad.
Especially the one against the Raiders.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that was just a much older Viking team. Which I'll give the Vikings credit. The Vikings were one of the oldest teams in the league and were still finding ways to win. You had the much younger teams, namely the Rams, that could not beat that team. And it didn't, it took them damn near a whole decade to finally beat the Vikings in the playoffs. So, they were the class of the NFC, but when it came to the AFC, they were just outmatched. They just were.
Yeah. I was happy for Jarek to actually win. He's one of the few Vikings that have left that, you can see why he left. I was happy.
Well, and Jarek got one. We forgot about Matt Burke.
Yeah, with Baltimore.
See, Matt Burke had a falling out with Brad Childress.
Seems like a theme.
And that was a theme, and he got one, and so did Bryant McKinney. But the funny thing was, Bryant McKinney, when he signed with the Ravens in 2012, he owed the NFL so much money that I think his whole damn paycheck went to the NFL for a loan that McKinney took out. And it was a loan with the NFL, and he had to pay that back. So, but he got a ring with the Ravens. And then, of course, Sidney Rice got a ring with the Seahawks. Percy Harvin got a ring with the Seahawks.
Tavares got one. Heath Farwell got one. The one ex-Viking I wanted to see get a ring and he didn't get it was Kevin Williams. Kevin didn't get a ring with the Seahawks. Jared Allen didn't get a ring with the Panthers. Well, the one I wanted to see was Moss with the Patriots. That was the only time I ever cheered for the
and Randy didn't get a Moss 2 times. He didn't get a ring 2 times with Patriots and Niners. So there was.
Didn't Percy?
Percy got a ring with the Seahawks.
So
Percy only played in 2 games that year.
Yeah, because it was migraines. His migraines were really bad.
Yeah, he played against the Vikings, and he played in the Super Bowl, and he returned a kick for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So, right, Norfius Burke said F you to your hometown discount. And plus he did not want to play he didn't want to play for Brad Childress. Yeah, he didn't want to play for Brad Childress.
Yeah,
Randall McGann.
That seems like a thing with Brad Childress.
Well, he came in bluster and he rubbed players the wrong way. Don't forget when he got here, he actually put Matt Burke on the PUP list, and Burke was ready to play. Him and Burke had they got into a altercation about that because he put Matt Burke on a PUP list, and he put him on a PUP list, and Matt Burke was like, "I can play right now." So there was kind of that whole thing. John never played in the Super Bowl, I don't think. No, John never played in the Super Bowl. Chris never played in the Super Bowl.
You know who else did, though? The same Baltimore team?
Who?
McKinney.
I said McKinney.
It's
like McKinney is the one that had that loan. McKinney had the loan.
I thought you were talking about McKinnon. Sorry, Jet. Okay.
Nope, McKinnon.
Yeah,
McKinney.
yeah. I heard Jet. I heard McKinnon. Jet. Yeah. Yeah, but how do you make that money? Um, as much as money as he did, and still need a loan like that.
He blew it at the nightclub. He had a nightclub that he had down in Florida. He also had a record company too, and he just did not. I don't know. He mismanaged his money. He mismanaged his money big time.
That happens a lot
Yeah.
because there's that one show called Broke. Professional.
Well, a lot of these players end up, they got, and a lot of them, it's more money than they've ever had in their lives.
Yeah.
And they mismanagement. Randall McDaniel, this is a sad one. Randall McDaniel retired after the 2001 season, and next thing you know, Tampa Bay goes to the Super Bowl and wins. So Jeff Christie got a ring.
Yeah, the center.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeff Christie got a ring. You're right. You're right, Sarah. You had to pay too many hoes.
Mr. Snicker guys. Mr. Snicker guy got a ring with Steelers too.
Burger did?
Yeah.
He was on that team?
He was a punter for the Steelers when they beat the Cardinals.
Huh.
For those of you who don't know, Vikings used to have a punter, Mitch Berger, and he would actually eat a Snickers bar on the sideline.
Yeah. And Gary Zimmerman got a ring with Denver.
Yeah.
So did Brian Habib.
Brian Habib, and they left Minnesota, went to Denver.
They left Minnesota and got rings with Denver.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, these are just some that.
There's just some right now that we're just rattling off that at the top of your head.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy for most of these guys. I just wish they would have done it in purple and gold.
Yeah, and that falls on coaching. It falls on the front office too. Oh, here's one you might remember: Brad Edwards,
the safety, right?
The safety. We let him go in '89 through Plan B free agency. He goes to Washington, and then in the Super Bowl that's played here in Minneapolis, he gets 3 interceptions against the Bills in the game.
Man, Kelly.
So he was like, yeah. So he got a ring. Brad Johnson got a ring.
So Jet McKinnon, Blake Bell, the tight end, was with Minnesota. Eric Bieniemy.
Oh yeah, the coach.
He was a coach for Minnesota. Remember with Adrian Peterson?
Yeah.
So he won with Kansas City. I mean, he wasn't a head coach, but still.
Yeah, he won with Kansas City.
Yeah. So there seems to be a lot. Jonathan Cannon was part of the Vikings organization.
Yeah, for a minute.
Yeah, so he was with Mike Zimmer, I believe.
Yeah.
Linval, but he won with Philadelphia.
No, he lost in Philly.
Let's see here.
He lost. He played in the Super Bowl. They lost to KC.
Was that the one?
The one before this one.
Okay, what's this here? Because I looked at another. Okay.
Yeah, he lost the Super Bowl,
but he still went.
Mm-hmm. He went. Jared Allen went.
Yeah.
Kevin Williams went.
Yeah. So. Well, I don't know if Greg Lewis would be considered. I mean, he played for the Vikings for a minute. I don't know.
Yeah, but he was an Eagle first. He was an Eagle first.
Well, that's probably what most people know him for.
Right. Bob Swede, Wentz got a ring and didn't play in the Super Bowl, but he got a ring.
Yeah, because
of Nick Foles.
How it works is if you play, I think, what is it, a certain amount of snaps for that team. If that team wins, you get a ring.
No, if you're on the roster, you get a ring.
So
if you're here, you know how it works. If you're on the roster, you get a ring. If you're on that season-ending roster,
right. But I'm saying players who get traded, if they were on that team that won Super Bowl, most of the time they get a ring too because they were.
Wentz wasn't traded. Wentz was on IR.
Yeah, no. But what I'm saying is usually when a team wins, like the Chiefs win this year, say they traded the player at the trade deadline, usually that team will give that player the ring too because they helped win it.
I never heard that.
You ever heard that before?
No.
Yeah, I saw. Well, who was that? I saw a YouTube video of a guy who they interviewed a former lineman. I can't remember the offensive lineman. I can't remember his name, but they interviewed him and they were like, "Are you sorry you got traded? You know, and the team went on to win." He's like, "No, I still got my ring." He's like, "Because I was part of the team before they, even though the team won the season, I got traded. I still got a ring because I was with them in the first half of the season." I can't remember who it was.
It depends on the team too, because teams do that. They not everybody does it, but some teams will do that.
Yeah. So
I mean, if they give the practice squad guys rings, yeah, then anybody can get a ring. It's like I tell people.
well, it's not. It's different levels though, isn't there? Like the different equality. Like I know the coaches and players rings not the same, but is a practice squad player the ring?
No, they get the same ring.
They do. Okay.
Everybody gets the same ring. It's no different. Front office people get rings. Practice squad people get rings. Support staff, all that get rings. The only ones that don't, I believe, are like your radio announcers because they're not really paid by the team. They're paid by the radio station.
But doesn't the team dictate who calls the plays?
Well, they make it used to be the network, the radio station would make the choice along with the team. Now I think it's more.
Because like the Twins just replaced Dick Bremer.
Yeah, and that was, but they also had to go through they also had to go through the radio station too. They had auditions.
Yeah.
You know, so it can't. I mean, the ball boys get a ring. Yeah, ball boys get a ring. Everybody gets a ring. It's the rings are just handed out like can't. Well, and they're for an NFL team. They're not that expensive.
Yeah, JT, Dick Bremer, what a name.
Yeah, it's Bremer, Bremer.
Dick Bremer, but but still, even if it's Bremer, it's still, I don't know. Where did the thing like going from Richard to Dick? Where did that come from? I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'll tell you what, it's most of the guys I knew that were Richards never called themselves Dick. They always went by Rich.
Yeah.
Or Richie. They never chose Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think going back to the Bremer thing, I enjoyed his stories because he's been a Twins fan for so long, and he's also been the play-by-play guy for so long.
Yeah, he's been in the Twin Cities since I was a kid. You can tell
he lost his fastball last year.
Well, he's old.
When he was calling some of the plays, so yeah.
Yeah, he got old. So now you have to get a younger person that at least knows a little bit of history. Okay, now with the Vikings, now here's a kicker with Paul Allen. Paul Allen got the radio gig because he happened to be in the right place at the right time. The man knows nothing about Viking history. He really knows nothing about football except what he's told and what he reads. He's a basketball guy and a horse racing guy, but he really doesn't know football. So he's had this gig for 20 years, 22 years. And his shtick's gotten old up here. I kind of wish the Vikings would get new blood. But I don't think they will. You're right, Sarah. He is annoying as hell. He is. If you're a Viking fan and you grew up with the old announcers and then you listen to Paul Allen, you're kind of like, my God, is he terrible?
Just real quick, JJ, it should be fixed now. There was an issue. There was something was going on with StreamYard today. It posted the wrong thumbnail. A thumbnail with it. I don't know what it posted. But it was not the thumbnail that I created. It had a bunch of errors and stuff on it. So I just went with a totally new one. But yeah. I mean, I don't listen to I used to sync up the radio with the game to listen to the radio.
That was what we did. That's what we did up here. It was better then because it was analog.
Yeah.
Once they went digital, it's just it just got worse.
Yeah, the delay is ridiculous.
Yeah, the delay is just bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to think now. So now, okay. The first two Super Bowls, Carroll Dale was a wide receiver with the Packers. He ended his career with the Vikings. So he became a Viking. There was really everybody else. Well, I'm thinking in that era, the only
Well,
one.
the Cowboys cut all the players they got from the Herschel Walker trade.
Yeah, so it was only the draft choices that when they win their Super Bowls was just the draft choices. But they had redone that roster. I mean, they pulled some deals. I mean, for them to get the players that they got, that was a super team. That was a super team. Buffalo, I'm trying to think, did they have a former? No, they didn't have a former Viking.
No.
The Giants had Tony Galbraith.
I'm sure there's like Marcus Epps. I think he lost with. I think he was on the Eagles when they lost.
Right.
Maybe or maybe they won. But Marcus, like I said, Marcus Epps really didn't contribute anything. So
no, he was just on the roster. And here's the thing. And now, nowadays, when you've got the practice squad as big as it is, you've got veterans on the practice squad now too. So, and then also they make players inactive. So if they really don't play all year, they're probably not playing in the Super Bowl. Just ask Kadarius Toney. He's getting a ring, and he's a buffoon. He cost them the game against Buffalo, the Chiefs this year. So
and the Lions game, the first game of the season.
Was that the one where he lined up off sides, or was that Buffalo?
No, he dropped. He was wide open. He dropped a touchdown pass to win the game against the Lions.
Well, he also blew it against Buffalo because they had a touchdown and he lined up off sides.
Yeah.
So he's just an idiot. But he gets a ring.
Noel DeVore won with the Steelers as well.
Okay, he was with the Steelers. That's right.
Yeah.
So he got a ring.
Tyrone Carter.
Yeah, Ty Carter got a ring too. Yeah. Yeah, he got a ring. Like he brings that up every chance he gets. He lives here in the Twin Cities.
Well, he went to UM too, so
University. He was drafted by the Vikings. Danny Green drafted him.
One of the few times they've actually drafted a
gopher.
A gopher, yeah.
Yeah, Danny Green drafted him.
Yeah.
Up and and then let's see.
Just trying to think of other coaches and stuff. Because there's been a lot of coaches with what's the because I remember like Bill Walsh and you saying Jerry Burns, were they ever connected?
Oh, Burns got winning rings with the Packers in the first two Super Bowls. Before Jerry Burns came to the Vikings, Burns spent 66 and 67 with the Green Bay Packers. He was their defensive backs coach.
Because I remember seeing something about Burns happen.
Burns got two Super Bowl rings with the Packers. And then he came to the Vikings as offensive coordinator in 68. But Burns, I forgot all about that. Burns won 2 Super Bowls with the Packers, and he was on Vince Lombardi's staff. For
some reason, I'm thinking. For some reason, I got in my mind a Viking going to the 49ers and winning. But I know we got Roger Craig going the other way. But I could have swore there was a Viking who left the Vikings and went to San Fran.
Only one I can think. Well, I got to think of this because I think. Well, here's the deal: we made a trade in '84 for Billy Shields. We traded John Turner to the Chargers for Billy Shields, the tackle. Billy Shields would not play for the Vikings because he didn't want to play for Les Steckel. He didn't want to play for like a rebuilding team. So the Vikings traded him to the Niners for a draft choice.
Well, he made a good decision with that one.
Right. So he got traded to the Niners and he got a ring. Only player I can't think of anybody that.
ISM. He's on the Chiefs practice squad.
Oh, he got a ring for doing nothing.
Anthony Harris went to the Super Bowl with the Eagles.
He went to Super Bowl with the Eagles, didn't win.
Browning was the backup for the Bengals when the Bengals went.
Didn't win.
TJ McGill, he went with the 49ers.
Didn't win.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys who went, but hey, I would just
Here's the funny part though. They still get a ring.
Yeah.
Oh,
still get a ring.
The one Ezra Tuaolo was a Viking and a Packer. He ended up going to the Super Bowl with the Falcons, and he talked about that in his book. He was nervous because, of course, Ezra was gay, and he was scared he was going to be outed.
No, who cares?
Yeah, he was scared he was literally scared he was going to be outed on Super Bowl Sunday. He was scared to death, and he wasn't ready to come out yet. But he played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, Adam Schreiber with Atlanta. He was a backup center in Atlanta.
Yeah, when he went, yeah.
Yep.
Later, JJ.
Oh, night, JJ.
Night, JJ. Yeah, that's gonna stick in my craw. The guy who went to the 49ers. He used to play for Minnesota.
Which 49ers teams?
I'm thinking early. I'm thinking 90s.
You're thinking Seaford and Walsh's teams?
Yeah. I could be wrong, but I could have swore there was a Viking who went to San Fran.
Terry Tausch, the guard. He got a ring with the Niners in '89. He was a starter with the Vikings. Terry Tausch got a ring. Dolman did not. Roy Barker did not. Yeah, you might be thinking of Terry Tausch, he's passed away. But he was with the team in '89. He was a backup though, but he did get a ring.
Yeah, I don't know if that's him or not. It could be. Why is it? Yeah, I'm Google because it's bothering me. Let me see. But yeah, we have there's a lot. I mean,
JD, that was Eric Bieniemy. We talked about him earlier. He was the running backs coach.
Yeah. When did was it the 84, 85 that Carroll was here?
Who?
Pete Carroll. Was that 84, 85 that he was here?
5 through 88 or 89.
And didn't he left he left us to go straight to the Jets, right?
Yeah, he got the head coaching job with the Jets.
We just because
we forgot a coach, Darrell Bevel.
Yeah, he was offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah, with the Seahawks. Yep, Darrell Bevel.
So yeah, Jarrett McKinnon played for the 49ers too. He was with the 49ers when they lost to the Ravens.
McKinnon hasn't been in the league that long.
He's 10 years, I think.
He was not with the Ravens.
With the 40, he played for
he wasn't with the. He wasn't with the Niners.
Let's see. Oh, hold on a second. Ooh, okay, that's weird. Yeah, he played for the Niners. Let me see what he played for the Niners.
That was before KC.
Right. But let me see. What did it say? So he played for 2018.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was with the Vikings for He was with the He was with the Vikings when they played at TCF Bank Stadium outdoors.
And he played with the 49ers until 2020.
And then he went to the Chiefs. So,
and then because the 49ers, this is the third time they've been in the Super Bowl the last 5 years, I think, right? So,
is it?
Yeah, they
blew this lead, then they blew the lead against the Chiefs before.
Yep. Yeah, Bob Sweet. Yeah, that was funny. As soon as the Vikings traded him to the Niners, he got hurt.
He did. He got hurt right away.
It's amazing. It's amazing how he was injury prone. He wasn't with the Vikings, and he went to
the Niners and got injury prone.
Right, and he's not with the Chiefs either. But for some reason, when he played for the 49ers,
he was actually basically he didn't play for the Chiefs all year. He was a Super Bowl decision to play. He took I think he either took Thuney's place, the guard, or he took Kadarius Toney's. Kadarius Toney was a healthy scratch.
Well, his comments, I think he's gone. He's not going to be with the Chiefs next year with his comments that he made.
No, but he got a ring out of it. So
it's amazing someone like that's got a ring, but Moss ain't got one.
Well, okay, let's reshuffle that. Anybody that plays a Super Bowl has a ring. He ain't got the trophy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
yeah, because leaving the losers get a ring.
The losers do get a ring. Call it what you want. I know some former Vikings that are proud of those rings. I know a couple of guys that only played in one Super Bowl, and they're proud of that. They didn't play very long, but they did get to play in the biggest game. They didn't win it, but at least they got to play in it.
So do you think the same thing can happen with Flores that happened with Tomlin?
What do you mean? Get hired as a head coach?
And then win the Super Bowl?
Yeah. But somebody's got to hire him first.
God, I wish was it Zimmer the head coach or was Childress head coach when Tomlin was here? It was Zimmer, right?
It was Childress. It was only 1 year.
Right.
When we, and the Wilson went through, they did all the illegal crap to bring in Childress, which meant kind of skirt the Rooney Rule. I mean, they knew they were going to hire Childress all along, but they had to, adhere to the Rooney Rule and make it look like they were actually doing their due diligence in searching for a NFL head coach, and they weren't.
So the Steelers job was Tomlin's first head coaching job, right? Other than college? Well, not even college. He was
his first head coaching coaching gig. And he was ready. But it also helps that he had a Ben Roethlisberger, that he had pieces in place that had already won a Super Bowl. So all he had to do was kind of implement his game plan. He already had the horses. He added a few younger horses, and guess what? He wins another Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean, we let him go and didn't win a Super Bowl. Tony Dungy wins a Super Bowl with Indianapolis, but he was sure going to win one with the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
he was sure going to win one with the Buccaneers. I don't know what happened.
The Colts were more his team than the Buccaneers were, though.
No, the Buccaneers were – no. Here's the deal. Gruden won that Super Bowl with that was Tony Dungy's team. That was Tony – every team that Tony Dungy has built, he's won with. That Tampa Bay team, especially that defense, was his. Hell, even the quarterback was his. You got to remember, when they made that trade for Gruden, it was already just before training camp that the Buccaneers made that trade.
Speaking of, there's another one, Brad Johnson.
Yeah.
And the same Super Bowl, Rich Gannon, two former Vikings quarterbacks playing against each other.
Yep, Rich Gannon. It's just, and so Gruden, I've never been a big John Gruden guy. I think he's overrated. I really do.
Yeah.
That Buccaneers team that he won with, because that was basically the Gruden Bowl. It was John Gruden coaching his new team against the team that he put together.
If an idiot, Bill Callahan, doesn't change anything.
And Bill Callahan doesn't change anything, and that's
No
what
audibles,
you get.
no
Yep.
nothing.
That's what you get. And guess what? He knew what the hell was going on. So yeah, he got a Super Bowl. You know, so Gruden never impressed me. I'm sorry, he just was never impressed me. That team was Tony Dungy's team. Okay, that Colts team that beat the Bears in the Super Bowl, that was Tony Dungy's team for sure. And the thing about I remember that Super Bowl was because Peyton Manning put on a clinic for quarterbacks.
Especially in the rain.
In the rain. He put on a clinic of how to play quarterback against an aggressive defense.
And that also had the best Super Bowl halftime show.
Definitely. You know. But yeah, it's Tony Dungy was another one that when you knew Tony Dungy was going to get a head coaching job, at the time I kind of wished that he had got the Viking job, but I knew Denny wasn't going anywhere. And it was only a matter of time before he got the Tampa Bay job. Yep. He got the Tampa Bay job. So.
Yeah. Did Sam Weiss ever coach for the Vikings?
No.
Okay. I was just wondering. Because I thought there was a connection between those.
We forgot one. Wade Wilson got a ring with the Cowboys.
Yep, backup.
As a backup. He got a ring with the Cowboys. So did Bernie Kosar. He got a ring.
So many quarterbacks that played for Minnesota. It's just
Sarah. It's Booger's real name is Anthony McFarland.
Yeah.
Booger's his nickname. But yeah, his real name is Anthony McFarland.
Not sure where the booger came from, but
probably when he was a kid because he probably ate them. But anyway.
They're very nutritious, by the way.
Oh, gross. Oh, God.
No, but Tony Dungy's probably the one. And then Mike Tomlin is probably man's never had a losing season. Just think about the Vikings kept Childress over Tomlin.
Yeah, and you know what? That's when I get on the Wilfs. Because if you look at the Wilfs track record, and they're forcing coaches on us and forcing certain players on us, that's why I say they pushed Brad Childress on us. It was obvious Childress wasn't going to win. It was obvious. But you built that team for Childress not to lose, and he still did.
Bringing in Brett Favre was, if it wasn't, I think that's the only really good season he had.
Well, they brought in Brett Favre to sell tickets too.
Right. Well, it almost worked too.
And it almost worked. So they won in spite of Childress. But all it took, and this is why Randy Moss will forever be my favorite Viking, was to bring Randy Moss back. And the Wilfs brought Randy Moss back because, first of all, if they had bought the team in time, Ziggy Wilf said he would never have traded Randy Moss. Randy Moss puts butts in
Which
seats.
is why I think they're going to sign JJ.
Yeah, they don't want to relive that mistake. But here's the thing. You bring Randy Moss back, you're getting butts in the seats. But guess what?
Break out your 84 jerseys, y'all. I'm coming back.
Childress cuts him.
I'll always hate Brad Childress for cutting Randy, man.
He cut him without telling the Wilfs.
Yeah.
Without telling the Wilfs. And then that whole perfect storm. Now, remember, the day after Childress got fired, the day before, we had just got our butts kicked by Green Bay. Like 34-3 or something like that.
Yeah, that was.
And the next day, the Wilfs fired
Childress had some really ugly games against the Packers.
Well, okay. A lot of Viking fans won't remember this. It was 2007. We're playing the Lions, right? We're winning, but we're not winning by much. The Metrodome fans, the Viking fans are starting a chant, fire Childress.
What was
and
it?
it was
What was it? Fire, chili, something like that. I think
It
it
was
was.
fire, children,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
loud.
yeah.
It was loud. It was you couldn't miss it. You
And the
could not miss it. And
yeah.
also, now this is what a lot of people don't. You guys don't didn't hear about
I
this.
did not suck. My offense was kick ass. Uh,
Yeah, you suck. Your offense sucks. Here's the thing: the PR was so bad for Childress. It was so bad. You literally had to get other coaches to put together to say positive comments about Brad Childress. The one that they did to tell comments about Childress was at the time Gopher football coach Tim Brewster, who sucked himself.
Jesus Christ.
So Brewster, who was a used car salesman before PJ Fleck, they did a whole spiel, and somebody asked him a question. He's like, Brad Childress is this kind of coach. He's that kind of coach, blah, 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 blah. And he was just basically brown nosing Childress. It was a joke.
From what I understand, the food from that place sucked anyway.
It did.
Randy wasn't the only one who said that, but that's not a reason to cut a player.
It did. A friend of mine, the place that did it, they had a buffet thing for lunch where they were going to serve the same food that they served to the Vikings. And my buddy was like, dude, it sucked.
No, Childress was the offensive coordinator for.
He was with he's always been. Here's the thing.
He went back to Kansas City, didn't he?
You know what he was? Passing game coordinator, which is basically I get the coffee on Monday morning.
Yeah.
Childress never called plays. He didn't call plays with Andy Reid. Andy Reid has always had play calling responsibilities. The only time Reid gave them up in Philly was to Marty Morningwake.
And that he learned from his mistake.
How
How does someone like Marty Morningwake at the time, why did he just keep getting job after job after job? Like the Lions hiring him as a head coach. I mean,
it's all who you know.
Yeah,
Here's the thing. NFL coaches are they're recycled more than plastic.
yeah.
You know, it's you've got, Josh McDaniel, come on. Josh McDaniel's name keeps coming up for a head coaching job or a OC job. And after what he did to the Colts, and you're still getting these gigs? You can't beat it. You can't beat it. You got free travel. You travel with the team.
I know Flores is suing the league, but if it's between McDaniels and Flores, I'm doing Flores. I'm sorry.
I'm signing Flores too. But when you've got what you've got with Flores, you've got Stephen Ross poisoning the well and saying the stuff he does. And he's going to poison the well to Flores to where Flores doesn't get a gig. And also Flores being a man of color, he's going to get more scrutiny. He gets more scrutiny than Josh McDaniels. You know,
for what Josh McDaniels did to the Colts alone should disqualify him from getting the cut.
It should. Okay, people should be on Josh McDaniels' ass because he cut a player because I guess he was hot. The guy was hot for his wife or something like that, or his girlfriend. He cut the player. He did that in what jobs has he had?
Denver.
It was Denver. It was Denver. He cut a player because it was either he was hot for his girlfriend. His girlfriend found the player attractive. That's what it was. McDaniel's girlfriend found the player attractive, and out of spite, McDaniels cut him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. He just seems like a petulant child.
He is.
You know.
Most of your coaches are. The biggest one, Sean Payton.
Was
Sean Payton.
he was in the same. Him and Mike Zimmer were coaches under Bill Parcells.
Yeah, they're from the Parcells tree.
So it's just amazing how Zimmer is the type of guy he is, and Sean Payton's totally different. It's just
Sean Payton got away with stuff because of, and they say he paid his price when he got suspended. Not really. No.
yeah.
He's not he's an offensive guy, but here's the thing. When you have a once in a lifetime generational quarterback like Drew Brees, you should have won more than one.
Yeah.
But at least you got. But it's the way you got. It's the way you got the one that pisses off everybody.
Think about the butterfly effect of the Dolphins signing Culpepper instead of Brees because of Brees' injury. Like Nick Saban didn't want the doctors didn't want Drew Brees because of his shoulder injury. But think about that butterfly effect of him going to the Dolphins. The Dolphins probably win a Super Bowl. Nick Saban never goes to Alabama.
Mm-mm.
Just that.
Well, but we don't know because first of all, what were the weapons around Drew Brees?
I mean, he didn't have very many weapons for the Saints. I wouldn't call them.
No, he had no weapons. He had no weapons for the Saints.
Right. I wouldn't call, the Vikings definitely had more weapons than.
But you got to remember, too, at that time, and that was, 06?
Yeah.
What's his name just wanted to get rid of Culpepper because they had a falling out. I mean, up here, they were fighting every day in the press, Culpepper and Childress, because he wouldn't rehab here in Minnesota. He was rehabbing as Childress said, at a strip mall in Florida. So he just wanted that was.
I don't know. We don't have any moderators, Morpheus.
Yeah, I don't know, Morpheus. I see you.
Yeah, we see you. Yeah, we see you.
Yeah.
No matter what you're on right now, because we have 4 different places you can watch. No matter where you comment, we can see it. Unless I think if you're on X, we can't see it, but I think if you're on the YouTube channel, we can see it. I'm not sure if it's linked to if it's linked to X or not. It might be. I'm not sure because we got 2 people watching on X right now. It didn't. Everybody else is on YouTube. So it tells me who's watching where. It doesn't tell me who's watching where. It just says we have 12 people and 10 of them are on YouTube. So yeah. Colson was undrafted too. Though 7th round pick, I think. But yeah, he was.
They had another one though. Who's the other one they had? They had Jeremy Shockey at tight end.
Yeah.
But it's the most punchable face. Both of them. Actually, it used to be Adam Gase when he was a coach. What a joke!
Oh my God, Jesus!
But right now it's Sean Payton. But yeah, Adam Gase was like.
Well, if you hit McDaniels in the face, it may feel like child abuse.
Yeah, and he'd probably curl up in a ball and cry.
I'm just glad none of those people are associated with the Vikings at all.
Well, you know what? Before we had KOC, the coach that they really liked that they interviewed, I told you before.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett. We could have had Hackett.
I'd rather have KOC. I'd rather have KOC.
I'd rather have Harbaugh.
I mean, Hackett can't win with Rodgers, so.
I'd rather have Harbaugh.
Unfortunately, I think that's going to come back and bite the Vikings in the ass.
There's 2 that's going to come back and bite the Vikings in the ass. Not hiring Harbaugh, and probably right now not hiring Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles has got so much cap money with the Bears
and all the damn draft picks. He's probably going to get some more because they're probably not going to stay at 1.
No, and the Bears are putting together a team. You've got now young teams in the division. Everybody's getting better, except the Vikings.
And I heard, the Vikings are going to have to start getting younger because the talk is Harrison Smith is retiring.
Yeah, and that'll save them 15 on the cap.
Save them 15 on the cap plus they'll also get younger. So, and they need to, I mean, people after the Super Bowl, everybody's like, well, the Vikings have got to get a Patrick Mahomes. Well, I'm sorry, people, there's only one Patrick Mahomes.
No, yeah, there's only one
There's
Patrick
30 other
Mahomes.
teams in the NFL that would like Patrick Mahomes. I'm sure the Bengals are happy with Burrow, and I'm sure the Ravens are happy with
Here's an
Jackson.
idea.
Anybody
Here's an idea, NFL coaches. Whoever you get a quarterback, put together a game plan that works both to their strengths. And I say this to KOC, and I say this loud and clear, and he hates to do it. Build your offensive line and run the damn football. It's not rocket science.
Well, they're going to have to if Cousins doesn't come back.
Even if Cousins comes back, run the damn ball.
Yeah.
Even if he comes back. You know what you're going to have? Because I can tell you right now, okay, Kirk Cousins comes back. Kirk Cousins will not play at all in preseason. He's going to play. Those starters are only going to play. They're going to play in the season opener. And guess what?
I think that hurt them last year with a slow start.
And it's going to hurt them again this year too. But here's the worst part. You already know Kirk is immobile. He's going to be even more immobile coming off this injury. So guess what? He's a sitting duck back there. If you don't upgrade that, if you don't come up with some blitz coverage packages, blitz blocking packages to take the pressure off of him, you're done. And what works? Run the damn football.
Well, there was a question about the safeties. I'm happy with Bynum and Metellus. Winfield Jr. would be a bonus. That's the spec.
And Bynum's playing out of position. Bynum's a cornerback.
And they say that the rumor about Winfield Jr. coming to Minnesota was from Judd Zolgag, and he used my Viking sources tell me, and I think his source is pretty close to the team.
It'd be like coming home.
Yeah, so he would be awesome.
He's got ties here too, so it what it comes down to is the money.
Yeah,
he's not going to take a hometown discount.
No, I think with them saying that they're going to wait on Cousins before they sign Hunter.
That's mistake number one.
Right. So who knows? I mean, the combine. We'll find out what happens at the combine. The combine is when you'll really start hearing who they're going to sign, who they're not going to resign. Because wouldn't it be with the topic that we're talking about right now? Wouldn't it be the most Viking thing ever if either Daniil Hunter or, God forbid, Kirk Cousins, they sign with a new team and they're the ones in the Super Bowl? That would be the most Viking thing ever.
I want to see Daniil get a ring before Cousins.
Yeah, but people think Brock Purdy didn't play well Sunday.
Okay, now I got a problem here with the Niners.
Yeah.
You choked on offense, Shanahan, but you fired Steve Wilkes?
All right, here we go. Steve, the Lions fans will never come to a Vikings history show because even though the Vikings have never won anything,
Lions have never won anything either.
We are like the best world, champions compared to them.
Yeah.
We usually don't get Lions fans in here. It's usually mostly Viking fans. Some Viking fans actually complain that we talk history too.
It's a vintage show. What do you think we're going to talk about?
Yeah.
It's a history show, folks. If you don't want to hear about history, feel free to log off.
Yeah, and it's every week. So the shows are not going to be as long during the off season, obviously, that they are during the season.
Yeah.
But like tonight, we've already pretty much talked about the players and coaches, and and so
I mean, we're on to the 49ers and their boneheaded move to give Steve Wilkes as a scapegoat for Shanahan's bullshit. Shanahan's a failure.
Well, they showed the graphic during the Super Bowl.
Shanahan is a failure.
His coaching decisions have cost his team 3 times in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Shanahan's a failure, folks. He is a failure. But you're going to blame Steve Wilkes? It's not his fault one of his starting linebackers decided to run on the field and tear his Achilles.
It's not his fault the special team player got hit by the ball.
Yeah, that's not his fault. And then it's not his fault that Shanahan didn't tell his players about the overtime rules until overtime.
I don't know how as a coach was it Donovan McNabb who said I didn't know the overtime rule. I didn't know the game could end in a tie. How oblivious and I mean, come on, man. It's
only in the regular season can they end in a tie, not in the postseason. That's just common sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, could you? I wouldn't say he's a total failure because he has gotten the team to the
He's
Super
a
Bowl.
failure. The man has been to 3 Super Bowls with double-digit leads and lost them all. He's lost them all. By the way, George, Bud Grant was a good regular season coach too. There's a whole lot of coaches out there that were good regular season coaches. But when he gets into the Super Bowl, he blew it with the Falcons. He had a double-digit lead and got conservative on offense.
Yeah, you should know the rules as a player. I'm sorry.
He had a double-digit lead his first time he played the Chiefs. He had a lead in this one too.
Yeah, but we mentioned him and Brian Habib, who both
we mentioned them both, him and Brian Habib.
Yeah, who both went to Denver after leaving Minnesota in one.
I never praised Shanahan, Sarah. I never praised him. If I did, I need my head examined.
I think he's a good. I think he's a.
Okay, you want to.
I think the pressure gets to him.
Okay, then why are you doing? Then why is he doing it then? Okay, then you're giving him the same excuse you give Kirk Cousins. We give Kirk Cousins that same. Some people are like, they give Kirk Cousins a pass because guess what? He can't handle the pressure. The pressure gets to him, but he's still a good quarterback. Guess what? If you're a good quarterback, you relish the pressure. When the spotlight's on, you relish it.
I want to get you started, Trisha. Shanahan is the best coach ever. The 49er fans are not complaining about him, by the way. I've been watching like YouTube videos of 49ers YouTubers, contributors, and stuff like that.
But you also have to. They're not complaining, but look at this. Look at this. Okay, John Lynch has put together an offense for Shanahan not to fail. He's put together an offense and a team for Shanahan not to fail. And what's Shanahan doing?
Well, there does come a time where.
Oh, by the way, Norpheus, I'm not a KLC fan, so I'm not a KLC guy at all.
There does come a time where you do have to put Shanahan. Shanahan is in that same category now as Bud Grant,
Marv Levy.
Marv Levy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in that. But here's the thing, though. I think Levy actually had leads in the Super Bowl. He had a couple leads. Bud never had a lead.
Yeah.
Shanahan has been in 3 Super Bowls and had comfortable leads. 2 as a head coach, 1 as an assistant.
You can never be forgiven for blowing a 28-3.
No.
Someone did the breakdown of the game that if the Falcons were to run the ball 4 times, they would have won. They would have won. All they had to do was run the ball 4 times, and they would have won. Because by the way, the clock and everything worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone broke the Patriots wouldn't have had enough time to come back.
Yeah.
So that's all they had to do.
And then sometimes too. Now this is where
hey, we do have. There you go. Go ahead.
Go ahead, type away, honey.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's there's kind of 2 people that fall with Atlanta. There's 2 people to blame. Now, the one person you can also blame with the Falcons, you can blame Dan Quinn for not getting on Shanahan and telling him to run the damn ball. You can some of these head coaches need to be held accountable too for letting their offense coordinators get total reign. That's the problem. You've got to rein them in.
The thing about Mahomes is someone did his career trajectory, and his career trajectory is better than Tom's. which I never thought I'd be saying.
Yeah, but Sarah, it's on Dan Quinn, but it's also on the conservative play calling of
Yeah, see, Dan Quinn as the head coach.
Shanahan.
Dan Quinn as the head coach should have said, "Can we try running the ball?" Here?
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas now with Shanahan as the head coach, he don't have to answer to nobody.
Yeah.
Which is also another problem.
People keep saying that the Niners were Mahomes, right? The 49ers beat themselves more than the Chiefs beat them. With the
49ers did
with
beat
the
themselves.
turnovers.
They had a lot of breakdowns too.
Yes, the 2 turnovers in the red zone, the punt hitting the guy on the leg, stuff like that. So yeah, Mahomes did actually beat them, but
well, have you seen the meme about the last play?
The touchdown?
Yeah.
No.
They said the Chiefs had an eligible receiver downfield.
No, it doesn't surprise me.
And they said that there should have been a 10-second runoff.
I'm just going to leave that up the rest of the night.
Oh, don't do that. I got to talk to her after I get off of here. Don't do that. Don't do that. She has heard me bitch and moan about Kirk Cousins for the last 6 years. You know.
Yep. Kirk Chains coming to Atlanta.
She's already heard me complain about him ad nauseum. Mahomes is not the GOAT. Mahomes is not the GOAT.
Not yet. He's not working on it.
Brady's the GOAT as far as Super Bowl rings, but to me, Brady's not the GOAT either. Brady's not the GOAT.
Well, there's only one quarterback ever who's played in more Super Bowls and has had a perfect rating in almost all 4 of them and never turned the ball over.
Brady?
Montana.
That's the GOAT. That's the GOAT. And Montana played when football was real. Okay?
Yeah, Montana. They even said it during
Montana never had 2 rules put in place because of him.
Mm-hmm.
2. So you know what? Everybody's like, well, look at the ring. Look at the rings that Brady got. I'm like, you didn't fuck them rings. Brady also lost 2 Super Bowls to the Giants and Eli Manning.
And
he lost to the Eagles.
Brady
so guess what? And Brady played longer. So guess what? Joe Montana all the way. And Joe had one of the greatest comebacks in Super Bowl history, dude.
Yeah.
That drive that he put together against the Bengals was classic. So.
And it wasn't Rice who caught the touchdown. It was Taylor.
It was the second receiver.
Yeah.
It was John Taylor, the one that had the single coverage. So guess who could also read defenses? Joe Montana.
Yeah.
And if you think about Montana getting to that Super Bowl.
If Montana played in KOC's offense, the Vikings would never lose.
Right. And here's the thing. Montana, on the way to that Super Bowl, when he beat the Bengals, he beat 2 top defenses. One was the Vikings. The other one was the Bears in Chicago in below 0 temperature. So.
Yeah,
JD, that they did, which was complete and utter BS. And that was a Rodgers rule to protect. And the NFL wants to do that because here's the thing with the NFL. The NFL can't make any money on TV and get people to watch if they've got a bunch of backup.
Nobody wants to watch Josh Dobbs versus I don't know.
Josh Dobbs against Jake Browning.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs versus Chad Henne or
yeah. Nobody want the NFL doesn't want that, and neither do the sponsors.
Well, we all know
you're right, JD. It's all about money.
We all know Rodgers hasn't been the same since he walked into a bar. So
he ain't been the same since he walked on grass.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, the guy's brittle. Yeah, there's another one too. Terry Bradshaw was a beast. And I'll tell you what, when the NFL softened its passing rules in 78, Who was the quarterback that took advantage of it? The Steelers.
Yeah.
The Steelers were the ones that took advantage of that.
Which, going back, another thing, speaking on that, think about someone like Joe Namath playing today. That dude threw for 4,000 yards back when it was a 3 yards in a cloud of dust league.
And Joe, okay, Joe's in the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
Joe was never he's got more interceptions than touchdowns.
Right.
You know, and he won that Super Bowl, and that's all he's got. Other than that, he either missed time or he was average at best. But he was because, you know, but he was notoriety. He was probably like the first NFL superstar outside of Paul Hornan, but he was that first quarterback that got all the pub. The
especially
TV,
his
the
comment,
commercials.
Night, Mama. Yeah, but he had that guarantee.
And that was the only highlight he had.
Ooh, I'm sure Tony appreciates that.
Oh, I'm not complaining, but I want I want proof. I want proof.
I want video. I want
pictures. But you know, with Joe, he played on some, you know, and the Jets caught lightning in a bottle. So
yeah,
you know, but the Jets were never the same after that. Never the same. And honestly, that's one of the reasons this all goes back to Viking history. One of the reasons Fran Tarkenton wanted to go to the Giants was to take eyes off of Namath. And he thought he could turn around the Giants. And he didn't. So it's, you know, but, you know, Joe.
I'm not going to say Patrick Mahomes is a phony.
You know what? You can't call him a phony. The man's won Super Bowls.
3 of them.
He's won 3 Super Bowls, and he's human because he lost one.
Yeah.
So he is
which
flawed.
makes it even more remarkable that
right.
Montana is 4-0.
Yeah, he's lost one. You know, so I'm not gonna call him fake or nothing like that. I mean, there's some quarterbacks out here I could call fake in a heartbeat, Josh Allen, but I won't.
I told Buffalo Bill fans, I said he is. I told him, I said because I like watching Wyoming football for some reason. I don't know. I watch Wyoming football.
I think you're the only person outside of Wyoming that does watch Wyoming.
I like the colors, maybe brown and yellow. Always because going back to being a Tony Gwynn fan, the Padres being yellow and brown. I don't know, but I watched. I'm like, man, this dude is talented, but he's inaccurate as hell. And I told the Bills fan that. I said, just watch. He's inaccurate. I said 2 things are going to happen with the Bills. Josh Allen is going to go back. He's going to regression back to where he is, inaccurate. And Stephon Diggs is going to turn into a diva. When stuff doesn't start going well, Stephon Diggs is going to turn into a diva. Every one of them said, no, that's not happening. Well, folks, guess what's happening?
They got more problems. They got not only that, they've got Von Miller on that defense, and he very, very seldom shows up.
Yeah.
McDermott, how McDermott keeps a job, I don't know. Next time, you know, I don't understand how he keeps a job.
Yeah, Steve, this is, as we said before, this is just pretty much the only show Tony and I do where we don't. It's just us. We don't. Other people come on. Maybe once in a while, someone may come in and ask Tony a trivia question, and then, you know. But other than that, this is like the Friday night show is the one where we let people on. And as you know, we were on so long, you actually fell asleep. We did. For those who don't know, we were on for 5 hours. We were on for 5 hours. Friday night, and like 3.5 to 4 hours in, all of a sudden Steve is there, but he's not there.
Yeah, and that was a 5-hour show. My God.
Yeah, it's Josh Allen's is a more physical version of, if Cousins could run like Josh Allen and do the things that Josh Allen does, runs, but still plays quarterback the way he plays quarterback, Cousins would probably be a top 3 quarterback in the league. And
Well,
then
now I'll tell you what,
and,
Josh
until
needs to be careful.
yeah,
Yeah, Josh needs to be careful.
yeah.
Because now, and he's a big guy too. So you're going to have some
He's going
players.
to be a Cam Newton. Cam Newton fell off a cliff.
He's going to have targets.
Yeah.
He's going to, if he doesn't already. Well, since we're on the subject, is it true the Dolphins are looking for another quarterback? They're going to move on from Tua?
Would you take Tua?
I don't know.
There's some Dolphin fans who want them to blow it up and rebuild. Like
so you know what? When you think about it, so actually what some of those Dolphin fans are saying is Brian Flores was right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We appreciate it, Steve. We appreciate it. So I mean, if that's the case, I don't know. It's, you know what? Yeah, blow up the Dolphins and start with those damn jerseys.
They need to go. The throwbacks, the '66 throwbacks that they wear, those are the best uniforms in football.
Yeah, there's Super Bowl ones. Those throwbacks rock.
So when the when the Dolphins wear their '66 uniforms and their basic Raiders uniform are the two best jerseys in the NFL. And by the way, people, you guys think the Broncos uniforms are ugly now. Wait till you see what they're coming out with.
They're going to be worse. They're going to be worse, people. If you thought
Tony and I have seen them, they are bad.
Yeah, we saw a prototype for their new unis. My God, I'm looking at a semi-pro football team. It's bad.
Why would you one of the most iconic helmets and change it to white?
Oh, you know what though? There's too many. Okay, there's something going in the NFL now with everybody doing these whiteout games on that. It's okay. There's a reason white is not that popular. It's just not. That whole whiteout thing is something they do in college. If you're going to be pro, like I said before, do something original. Do something for the pros. Have a throwback weekend.
Yeah.
Honor the past. That's not too hard. I mean, you have every other type of weekend.
JDT, I don't know if you're old like Tony and I, but no, their Orange Crush uniforms are the best uniforms.
The Orange Crush the ones that Nike got hold of with those ugly ass stripes, no.
Yeah. The ones from the Drive and the Fumble, those uniforms are the best.
The ones that they won those two Super Bowls. John Elway hated those uniforms when he first saw them. He's like, hated.
You like puke and pea colors.
Oh God, Steve, really? You guys got the best colors? Oh, Jesus Christ, go away.
You guys copied the University of Georgia with your helmets.
That G used to be sharper. It used to be a sharper G. Now it's like a rounded G. Now you're just like everybody else. It's not even original anymore.
At least Georgetown University, they have like the G, not like the football shaped G. It's actually like a regular capital G, so it looks way different, which is pretty cool. But yeah, everybody else who has that G, high schools do it, universities do it.
Hey Trisha, there is talk that Tampa Bay is going back to their creamsicle jerseys. They want to bring, what they call them, Buckle Bruce back.
They look like a bunch of prisoners.
Oh, those Bumblebee! Oh my God, yeah, those were bad.
Well, they have to wait. Was it 6 years?
5 years.
The NFL, you have to wait it's 6 years because the year you change the uniform in 5 years, so it's 6 years. Is what someone said. Yeah, because the NFL is all about merchandising, and they don't want to be like hockey or baseball or basketball where you can just change your uniforms anytime you want. So they want, when they make players.
Why not?
I don't know. This is a dumb rule. Just like the same rule where Dalvin Cook had to pay $1.5 million to buy out all the stock in NFL.com with his number 33 jersey before he had to change his number 4.
Anyway, moving on. Oh, by the way, if you're going to wear 0, at least do something.
Yeah.
Davenport.
Why they allowing 0 back but not 00?
They're running out of numbers.
Right. So they should go be able to have players use 00.
That's what I think. Double
I mean,
zero is cool.
at least 00 translate to 100.
Yeah, 00 is cool. Okay,
You know?
now let's talk Vikings. We're talking jerseys.
Yep.
I want the Vikings to go back to their jerseys they wore in the 70s.
Well, the throwback ones that they wore this year.
Those are 60s. Those are 60s with the outline number. Those are 60s.
So you don't want the outline around the number.
I like the outline around the number, but I wanted to be a darker purple, both the jersey and the helmet.
The jersey and helmet didn't match up for the longest time.
No, but I want it to be a darker purple. It's too much of a light purple, and I want the helmet to be a glossy finish and not that matte finish as they have. I want to go back to those uniforms: gray face mask, gray, white, or purple.
Yeah, I don't like, because you and I are the same when it comes to this. I don't like teams who don't have black as one of their primary colors.
Using black
in their uniforms.
Vikings, black face mask.
Right. The Vikings colors are purple, gold, and white. There's no black.
There's no black.
So up until 2018, was it? No, 2010, I think. The horn didn't have any black in it.
No, when they changed these jerseys to their current ones, they changed them in 2013.
Yeah.
That's when the black outline on the horn was, and that's
they
where
get
they
quote
put the
unquote
black
more
face
pronounced.
mask. Right. But it's not. We don't have black on our color scheme. So there should be no black on our jerseys.
Steve, this actually happened in where I grew up. They were one of my division rivals. My cousin actually went to the school. I went to Palm Beach Lakes, which they have their school colors are maroon, silver, and black. Like that's one of the best color combinations you can have. And our nickname is the Rams, but we didn't have the Rams horn on our head. We just did we had like Palm Beach Lakes where we had lakes on the helmet or a P or an L, or we had like the logo we had when I left was kind of like the Seahawks logo. You know, it has a Seahawk head and it goes all the way around the helmet. That's how but it was a Rams head and it went around. So that was our logo. But one of the high schools we played, they're called the Palm Beach Gardens Gators. They have been the Palm Beach Gardens Gators since 1963. So we're talking from 1963 to 2008, I think it was. The Florida Gators had no issue with them having the cursive Gators on their helmet. All of a sudden, 2008, the Gators are sent them a cease and desist letter. They can't use the Gators logo. So my guess is, yes, the Gator logo technically might be trademarked. But why the hell are you going after? Why do these college teams go after high school teams? It has no effect on you guys.
You know what? When they do that, it's petty. It's a high school.
Yeah, especially if a kid goes to Palm Beach Garden Gators and he's really good and he's like, "Hey, I'll just keep playing for the Gators," you know?
Yeah,
it's because the uniform. I mean, they were a carbon copy of the Florida Gators. Their helmets, everything was you couldn't tell the difference between the Florida Gators uniform and their uniform. So I guess maybe that's why. But it's still a high school team. What the hell is this high school team? Well, what does that mean? You know. So I don't. So I don't understand why. I mean, I don't know if the high school that they're going after has the same colors as the University of Wisconsin or not, but it's red and white.
Sarah, the Packers are named after the Acme Packing Company. That's where the Packers came from. They were named after the Acme Packing Company.
See, Steve, I told you this, man. You can't say the Pack. You can't. Yes, they have 12 championships.
You got 12. One of them motherfuckers is ours, and give us our goddamn trophy.
But the thing about it is you can't compare the Packers championships before the Vikings were even a team because the Vikings weren't around to win those. And some of those that the Packers won, there was only like five teams in the league. Well, I'm not saying I'm not taking it away from them, but
Well, like I said before,
one of them was the Cardinals.
How many did the Bears win back in this at the same time as the Packers? And you never hear them talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
JD, the Browns are named after their former owner, Paul Brown.
And he did not want the team named after him.
Yeah, that team is named after Paul Brown. Now let's talk about the Rams, because originally the Rams were from Cleveland and their colors were like a burgundy and gold. And then they got to LA, they were blue and gold. But they did have the horn on it. They were the first team to have an emblem on their helmets, and those were the leather helmets.
Do they have the same colors, George? Well, if it can't be. There has to be a subtle difference. It can't be the exact same because the teams don't own the logos. The NFL does.
No, but what the NFL does is the NFL puts a patent on it.
Right.
NFL, once the NFL slaps a patent on it, anybody that's using that has to pay a fee.
And does the West Virginia Community College have enough money to pay that fee?
No, they probably have to. They probably have to make up their own logo.
Yeah, so there's probably slight differences legally that they can get away with. There might be something that's so small, minute, you don't recognize it. But if it is the same logo, the NFL probably doesn't know about
it. Sarah's got a comment here with the Browns. Technically, the Browns, now back in the day, especially in the 60s, that elf that they have on their as their mascot on their field, that's their original mascot, Brownie the Elf. He was their original mascot. When they got years later, and this is the 80s and 90s before they moved, they had the Dog Pound. And the Dog Pound was kind of like their mascots. So after a while, when the Browns, instead of putting the helmets, they started putting the Bulldog to represent the Dog Pound when they came back.
I thought it was a Mastiff.
It's a Bulldog, isn't it?
I thought it was a Mastiff, but
it might be a Mastiff. Right, and so that elf is NFL history because that's the logo they had in the 60s and 70s.
So they're using the Viking logo in orange and blue. That probably looks awful. No wonder why the NFL doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, see, Jay, in Europe though, that is the name of teams. Like Manchester United football team, they don't have a nickname. That's just their name.
Well, yeah, but that's soccer.
But
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. In the NFL, we've all in America, American sports have always had nicknames.
Yeah.
The European teams do have nicknames, but they never use them. They do have nicknames, but here, we've always had nicknames, and it's always represented some sort of something with the city or whatever they're dealing with.
He founded the Bengals.
Yes, he did. The Bengals are also his team. When he got fired from Cleveland, he moved on to Cincinnati and started the Bengals. So he started two teams.
Yeah.
He started two teams. We got Vikings because of the Nordic and Scandinavian ancestry up here. It's the lineage. So that's why they went with Vikings. I don't know what they would have been called if they were still in the AFL, because they were going to be called Minneapolis. So,
yeah, because back then, Minnesota was the first team to actually be named after a state. Everything back then was cities.
Yep, and the NFL had to take a special vote for that to happen.
Because even today in the NFL, how many teams are named after a state? I mean, the Jets and Giants.
Just Arizona.
But they play in New Jersey.
Just Arizona. Sarah, they should not be the Cleveland Keeblers. Wow.
Yeah.
God.
For some reason, the Jets and Giants they call them. I mean, they call themselves New York, right? But they don't play in the state or the city.
because they don't play in as well. MetLife Stadium's just outside of New York. It's just across the harbor.
Right, but still.
You know,
But
well,
at the time when they were founded, though, they actually did play.
they both. I mean, the Giants played at Yankee Stadium. Jets played at Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
You know, but then I think when George Steinbrenner took full control of the Yankees, I think he just wanted it to be a baseball stadium. And there was a time where the Giants played in Connecticut. They played at the Yale Bowl. They played in New Haven. They didn't have a home till, and New Jersey, when they built the stadium there, it was cheap land. It was toxic land. It was swamp land. It was radioactive land. There's probably some gangsters buried there. It was cheap. Yeah, the rumor was Hoffa's in one of the end zones. So then they moved there. Well, then when the Jets fell apart with their stadium because they wanted a new stadium in New York, they just moved across the river to East Rutherford.
Yeah.
So it's.
But there is renewed. Talk of the Jets moving back to downtown.
The Jets would be the only one. The Giants wouldn't move.
Yeah. So
the Jets would be the only one. Yeah, because the Vikings, JD, are the most historical name. Well, San Francisco is the 49ers during the gold rush.
Yeah.
So that's legit. The Cowboys, it is Dallas. The Texans.
Only because, and they've come out and said this, only because Bud Adams took the Houston Oilers name with him. They would be the Houston Oilers if the Houston Oilers were available.
Yeah, if they hadn't, if the Adams family hadn't taken the name to Tennessee with them, they owned the name.
Yeah,
they owned the name Oilers. They could sell it, but they won't.
They won't sell it to Houston.
They won't sell it to Houston. The Lions have had a couple of names. They used to be known as the Portsmouth Spartans.
Yeah.
That's what they started out as, and then they became the Detroit Lions. The Chicago Bears were the Decatur Staleys.
Now, what is this Staley?
Car.
Okay.
A car. George Halas, then owner of the Staleys, he owned a car dealership.
Okay. Makes sense. Kind of like the Packers named after the packing company.
After the Acme Packing Company.
That's sponsored yeah.
Now, the biggest controversy has always been the Washington Redskins. The Redskins started out as the Duluth Eskimos. They were the Duluth Eskimos, and then that was Ernie Nevers' team. Well, then they left Duluth, Minnesota, and I believe they ended up in Boston. When they got to Boston, they changed the name to Redskins. The reason the name was Redskins, it was named after one of the football players who was Native American, Joe Guyon. And as an honor to him, they named the team the Redskins.
And by the way, their logo was done by a Native American tribe.
It was done by a Blackfeet tribe. It was done by an artist. I think it was, and the man on the emblem was a member of the Blackfeet or Blackfoot tribe. So, and then because up till then, like they had a arrow as a decal, they had the R.
Yeah, they had Florida State's helmet.
Right, which the R was Vince Lombardi's. Was Vince Lombardi's creation. So
it's kind of like the Blackhawks logo, Florida State's Chief Osceola, their logo. All those logos have been done by Native Americans.
Right.
So how can it be offensive to Native Americans if they're the ones who did the logo? That's my question.
It was never the logo, it was the name.
So
it was the name. Redskins back in the day was a slander name for Native Americans. But there was, like I said before, if Daniel Snyder had handled things differently, they would probably still be called the Redskins with no problem. But Daniel Snyder was such a dick till you had to get away from it. You did. So now they're the Commanders, which I don't have a fucking name. I don't have a problem with that. The Giants, okay, so here's the deal. When the Giants played in New York, you had the football Giants and the baseball Giants. And that's what they were. It's then the Giants moved to San Francisco. The Jets were originally the Titans. And Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, that fits them. Seahawks fit Seattle's.
The Buccaneers actually fit Tampa very well.
Does it?
Mm-hmm. It's called the Golden Coast because of all the pirate treasure that's been shipwrecked on the coast.
Okay, so that fits them.
Yeah.
Atlanta's got the Falcons.
Well,
which I like. I ain't gonna complain. I like that.
Well, they also two of their teams have the bird of prey. Actually, if they get hockey back, which is a big talker, 3 of their 4 teams are going to have a bird of prey as their.
What are they going to call the hockey team?
Thrashers.
They're bringing them back to Thrashers.
Yeah, the word is if they get an expansion team, because for some reason the new owners, there's new owners in the area who want hockey. The NHL wants the Atlanta market, so the Thrashers would come back. Yeah.
Okay, that's where the Calgary Flames started. They were the Atlanta Flames.
And the Braves probably, if the Braves started in Atlanta, they probably would be called the Braves.
The Braves were all over. My God, the Braves were Milwaukee at one time, and Boston, and
Sarah. There used to be 2 teams. There used to be 2 teams called the Senators in Washington, and neither one of them made it. So I think they want to keep away from names like that.
Actually, Sarah, the Washington Senators became the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, and then the Texas Rangers.
The Texas Rangers.
Yeah, that's what everybody wanted. That's if most Redskin fans, because my mom's one, would say that if they just went from Redskins to Warriors and kept everything the same, nobody would complain.
Guess what stopped them? You won't believe it when I tell you why they weren't called the Warriors.
What, the Golden State?
Yep. Yeah, lobbyist sounds good.
Yeah.
Washington Hypocrites is even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so you with teams and what sticks with their names.
Boston Braves, a team Babe Ruth ended his career with.
Yeah, and then you've got now the Colts were originally the original Dallas Texans.
That would be awesome, George.
That'll be the name of the next Florida team. Swamp Monsters.
Well, I mean, Yogi's the coach of player personnel for the Harbor Monsters.
That's a cool name.
Yeah,
that's a cool name.
The Duluth Harbor Monsters, an indoor professional team.
And I'm going to tell you something. If you're ever in Duluth, and it's kind of cool up there, but it's weird. It gets a weird mist off of Lake Superior at night. It's actually kind of scary. It's cool as hell, but it's actually kind of scary. So I like the name. I like the name. You know what? That name sounds better than what the name of the Minnesota AFL team is. The Myth. Yeah, the Myth.
I like the Myth colors though. The black, red, and silver.
Is it black and red or black and orange?
I thought it was. From what I saw, it looked like it was black, red, and silver.
I'll have to take another look.
Yeah. But black and orange has to be done right because you would look too much like Halloween. Like the Bengals do black and orange white.
Yeah, because they're predominantly black.
Yeah. So
they're predominantly black.
You don't want to look like Halloween, you know.
And they're a team that needs their uniforms redone too. Let's just be honest. Nike, since they started doing all the sports uniforms have really just
And
screwed them up.
MLB players, since they're they're reporting to spring trading,
Mm-hmm.
they hate the new uniforms.
I believe it.
So they so there's probably going to be a change. Actually, the best team for New Orleans is their arena team name. The arena football team is called the New Orleans Voodoo.
Yeah, they're called the Voodoo.
That is a phenomenal name.
Well, Saints does fit them though. They're named after the song, the Saints, when the Saints go marching in. And the original owner of the team was Al Hurt, he was a jazz man, trumpet player.
Yeah.
So for them to have Saints, that was fine. Their basketball team was a New Orleans Jazz.
Right.
Which
I want to, because my wife, for some reason, we were flipping through channels and she stopped on Angels in the Outfield.
Mm-hmm.
And Christopher Lloyd was talking to Tony Danza. He's like, some things in sports don't make sense, like the Utah Jazz. I want to yell at the screen. That's because they started in New Orleans, you dumbass.
They started in New Orleans. Yeah, they were the New Orleans Jazz.
When Pistol Pete paid for them, they were the Jazz. They were the New Orleans Jazz.
Okay, and you want to talk about how different basketball is? I think I read somewhere Pistol Pete scored 69 points in one game without a three-pointer.
Yeah, they didn't have the three-point line.
They didn't have the three-point line back then. He puts up 69 points.
They didn't get the three-point line until, like when Bird started his career, they didn't have the
79, 80.
Yeah. So
I think the first year for the three-point line was 79, 80.
So
so it's kind of like, and then, the Dallas Stars, they're the North Stars. Yep. But Stars fits because it's Dallas, and so you just drop.
Well, technically there is still a team around that has a racial slur.
Which one?
Vancouver Canucks.
Racial slur to who?
Canadians. The Canucks is not a favorable term for Canadians. So.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's what I was told, at least.
Sucks for them.
Buffalo is named after Buffalo Bill, the cowboy.
Buffalo Bill Cody.
Yeah, that's why their name is the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
They were an NFL team and they merged there.
Mm-hmm.
So the NFL would never have put a team in Buffalo.
No. Now technically they're the only team in New York, but there was talk of them moving to, of all places, Canada.
Well, they're not the only team. They're not the only state that has three teams. Florida's got three teams. California has three teams.
What does California got? Niners, Chargers, Rams.
Yeah, they had four.
Yeah. Texas has 2.
Yep. There's talk. San Antonio at one point was the leading city to get an NFL franchise, but Jerry Jones put it in. But the Austin San Antonio area, I'm about 40 minutes from Austin, and there's a city. There's 2 big cities in between that has a lot of space. San Marcos, where Texas State plays, and New Braunfels. They have tons of space, so that if there was a new stadium, that's probably where the stadium would be.
Right.
Probably would be at. But the area is too big to ignore. Right now, there is between Austin and San Antonio, I think there's 2.9 million people. If they're projected by the year 2030 to be around 3.9 million.
Here's the thing, though: if the NFL is going to expand, it's going to water down the league anyway.
Yeah. Quarterback play sucks already.
Yeah, so it's even going to be worse. But you know what? For years, Red McCombs tried to move the Vikings down to San Antonio. So, by the way, I'm going to set the record straight here, people, because I've seen this a lot on X, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, social media. people have been getting on the Wilfs, but everybody's like, guess what? If the Wilfs didn't step in and buy the Vikings, they would have moved the team to LA. Okay, I'm going to set the record straight for all of you. The Minnesota Vikings were never going to LA, even with the Wilfs as owner. I'm going to tell you why. Stan Kroenke eventually moved the Rams back to LA. The stadium that the Rams have was paid for out of Stan Kroenke's pocket because LA County voted down a referendum to help put public money to a sports stadium. They shot it down.
All the new stadiums in LA, the new Clipper Stadium, the new Warrior Stadium, they were built with private money.
Yes.
That's why Oakland is leaving. That's why Oakland A's are leaving here, because they should have got the A's should have got a stadium 30 years ago. That place is such a dump. But that's why the Raiders left. And then that's why, because Oakland, of all the teams that are there, Oakland's got the less money. It's doesn't bring in as much money as LA or San Fran. So
right.
The owner needs a little bit of help. But it's like the people are killing the A's owner because he's moving the teams. And I go on there, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? You guys had 4 sports franchises. You know, now you're done. Now you're, because the hockey team that was there left long, but they left a long time ago. But now you guys are down to, once the A's leave, you guys are down to 0. At what point, when does it become a city issue? You know, because the Warriors started off in San Francisco because they used to be called the San Francisco Warriors, and then when they moved to Oakland, it became the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
And then they're moving back to San Fran. All right. Well, we know Oakland's a nomad team. They, Oakland to LA, then back to Oakland. Now they're in Vegas. And the A's have been the only team that, once they've gotten to Oakland, has not left. And you would think, they've been there for so long that Oakland A's be more your team than any of the other two. And you still are, you have a program that you're willing to work with, but that was after the A's. Once the A's said they're leaving to Las Vegas, then once they signed the paperwork to go to Las Vegas, that's when Oakland came back. Oh yeah, we could work something out. Well, I mean, at what point does it become I mean, look at the Vikings. With all the people who hate, private money for a stadium, private money for a $1 billion owner, stuff like that. Well, they got 2 stadiums done. Because why? Because they realize, yes, you are giving billionaire money to help build a stadium, but what does that stadium bring to the city? I mean, how much money does the Vikings bring the area around there? The Twins, the Timberwolves. When the Timberwolves are good, the Wild. NFL teams, professional sports teams, bring more to a community than they don't. You have all the charity work and stuff that all the professional players do, the stuff they do.
And also up here we already screwed Minnesota. The Twin Cities screwed up with the North Stars because when when Norm Green owned that team. Now let's set the record straight. Norm Green had a couple of sexual harassment suits here in the Twin Cities. He had like 2 or 3. And so when he moved his team out of here, I want a stadium, I want an arena, I want an arena, I want an arena. Well, what happened
the one they played in was crappy.
Met Center? It was another arena.
Right.
It was
starting to fall apart though.
Well, yeah, but they got their money's worth. I mean, I saw so many concerts there; it's not even funny. But he wanted a brand new arena just for him. So they called his bluff, and guess what? He moved him.
And by the way, Steve, it did not work.
No. You know who's trying Moneyball now? The NFL.
Yeah.
You know what team is trying Moneyball right now? The Minnesota Vikings. You know why? The owner, the guy that we have as CEO, did the same thing with the Toronto Blue Jays.
And who ended the A's streak that year?
Huh?
So who knocked the A's out of the playoffs that year?
I don't know who.
Twins. That was the last series that the Twins won before this last year.
Oh God,
So
that was years ago.
that was 2002.
Jeez, no wonder I don't remember it. No wonder I don't remember it.
I'm a huge Twins fan, in case you guys didn't know, so I know a lot about the Twins. But yeah, it's.
But I mean, it's with the Vikings. Minnesota, the Vikings were never leaving because first of all, the Wilfs were never going to get that public money. They would have had to build that stadium out of their own pockets, and they ain't doing that.
They did spend. I think if Red McCombs would have took the money up to where the Wolves took it, he would have got a stadium. But Red McCombs is a cheap son of a bitch.
Yeah, it was also cheaper back then.
Yeah.
With every year, it went up.
Yeah.
The cost went up. And just for and see, here's the thing now. For the Wilfs to build a stadium in LA, Kroenke built that stadium out of his own money, his own pocket. And it was in the billions.
I think he's the wealthiest owner.
Right. He also owns, I forget which team he owns in the.
He owns the team that just won the championship in NBA.
Yeah, Denver.
The Denver. He owns the Denver.
He also owns a European league too. He owns.
I'm not sure what European team he owns, but he does own a European soccer team.
Yeah, because they want him gone.
Just like when the Glazers bought Manchester United.
Mm-hmm.
They ran him for a couple of years and they got rid of him too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and here's a kicker with the Wilfs. The Wilfs own a Major League Soccer team, but it's the Miami team.
Yeah. Well, no, Orlando.
Is it Orlando or is it Miami?
No, it's Orlando.
They moved then because they started in Miami.
So,
why they ended up being called the Bears, I don't know. I don't know why they got the Bears name.
The Cubs.
Chicago Cubs, that's right. They both played at Wrigley Field.
Yep. And
they both played at Wrigley Field.
And football players are bigger than baseball players. That's why they're called the Bears as opposed to the Cubs.
Yep. And the Chicago Cardinals played at the old Comiskey Park.
Yeah.
Because the Chicago Cardinals were.
God, think about that. I know being a Lions fan is bad, but the Cardinals have been a team since, 1929? They have 4 championships.
Yeah.
That is.
And the Cardinals don't have any. The Cardinals don't have any real fans.
No.
They've moved so much till whatever fans they had in St. Louis are no longer their fans once they got the Rams.
Yep.
And now
they're all in the Battlehawks. They love the Battlehawks.
The Battlehawks is the Rams. Yeah. And now you've got now they're in Arizona, and Arizona's a bunch of transplants.
It's the same reason. It's the same issue with with Florida teams. There's so many. Like Dolphins, they finally have a couple of generations of Dolphin fans. But when you go to a Dolphins game, there's still New York. There's a lot of Jet fans there. If you see you play at the Jets,
a lot of transplants.
A lot. Especially from New York. So if they play the Giants and Jets, there's always going to be a lot of those guys in the stands.
Tampa Bay the same way.
Tampa
Bay used to have. I mean, when they played like in the NFC Central,
yep,
there was always more Viking fans, Bears fans, and Packer fans.
Because I used to go to because I grew up in Florida. Every time the Minnesota would go to Tampa, I pretty much went almost every year, and there was always more Vikings fans than Buccaneers fans in the stadium until the Buccaneers got good. Once the Buccaneers got good, it changed a little bit. But when the Buccaneers were awful, it was always more Viking fans than Buccaneer fans.
Yeah, it's in some teams. I can tell you right now, when the North Stars left Minnesota, there were no fans cheering for them. There were no Minnesota fans cheering for them. I don't know any that cheered for the Stars when they left.
I hate the Stars.
Yeah, it just and
how if you live in Minnesota, how in the hell can you be a Lakers fan?
Because that team left before many of us were even born.
But still.
Well,
They
see,
left.
and I'm old enough. We didn't have a major league NBA team until the Timberwolves.
That's why I'm a Hawks fan.
It's like, but it's almost like you've got a whole generation, like the generation before us that knew of the Lakers in Minneapolis, are mostly gone.
Yeah.
So it's like my generation, those that are old enough to remember. I mean, when the Lakers left here, they were kids. Some were kids,
Cool.
but most of that generation is gone.
So if the Lakers didn't win, so the Jazz when they went from New Orleans to Utah, it's kind of shocking they didn't change the name, you know. But I can kind of understand why the Lakers didn't change their name because of all the history that the Minneapolis Lakers had with winning those championships. So I can kind of understand the Lakers not changing the name, but yeah,
Dodgers didn't change their name either.
Yeah.
Giants didn't change their name.
Well, both those teams, because the Dodgers won one in Brooklyn before they left, I believe.
Dodgers won a few in Brooklyn.
Yeah, so I understand that Giants won before they left. So the teams that win, I can see the Cardinals. I guess that's kind of universal. So I guess
the Cardinals, it was a Bidwell thing.
Yeah,
they own the
same
name.
Owners.
Yeah,
same owners. The same families own the Cardinals forever.
I'll give the Adams family credit. They did change the name to the Oilers to Titans to make it Tennessee's. But was still and they've screwed them uniforms up.
But they could have changed it. They could have picked. They could have picked a different nickname. Like I remember when they were trying to do expansion and the Houston Oilers were still in Houston. Memphis was trying to get an expansion team, and they were going to be called the Memphis Hound Dogs.
Memphis always tried. You know who was Memphis back in the day tried to get an expansion team? You know who spearheaded that? Mike Lynn.
Right. And
he was from Memphis.
The Baltimore was trying to get an expansion team. I think they were going to be called the Baltimore Bombers.
Well, don't forget Baltimore. Also, there was that time there where two American USA teams played in the Canadian Football League. Baltimore was one of them.
Yeah, Baltimore Stallions.
The Baltimore Stallions, yeah.
And then Las Vegas Posse.
Yep.
Or Ohio Glory. See who else? Yeah, there was a couple of teams. Yeah.
Yeah, you've had a lot of teams are based on history, and there's a lot of history if you know it with all the sports.
Well, Sarah, the A's are the second oldest franchise in all professional sports.
And they were actually at one time in Philadelphia.
Yeah, the only team that's older than the A's in all professional sports is the Cincinnati Reds. And the Cincinnati Reds used to be called the Red Stockings. They just took the stockings part off.
Right.
So that's why they're just called because you got to keep in mind, back when they started those teams, athletics was probably, hey, they're athletic. That's why they play baseballs.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably how the name came from. Where I went, South Carolina, their nickname is the Gamecocks. They didn't have a nickname till the 30s, I think it was, when a newspaper reporter says the Carolina football team fought like a bunch of Gamecocks in the pit, so therefore they became the Gamecocks. That's usually, a lot of times, that's how nicknames happen. So back then the athletics, they're probably like, oh, these guys are athletic, so they're call themselves the Athletics. That's why they're the A's. But yeah. Well,
Sarah's got another good one here. Why do they call Super Bowl world champs? Here's the deal with that. For years before there was the copyright laws and all that stuff, if you won the Super Bowl, you were considered the champions of American football. That's what you were considered. World champs is just something they put on there. World champions. You were the world champions of American football.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Because at first it was called the American football. It wasn't called the Super Bowl. It was called the
AFL NFL championship.
The AFL NFL championship of American football.
Right.
but then they would just be called world champs.
And it got the name Super Bowl because one of the people, when they were at an owners meeting and they were trying to figure out a name, and one of the guys' grandsons at the time, back in the '60s,
It was Lamar Hunt's daughter. She was playing with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they had sold these hard rubber balls that when you would bounce it, it would go a million miles in the air. It was called the Super Bowl.
She was playing with the Super Bowl, and that's where he came up with Lamar Hunt came up with Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They officially named it the Super Bowl the next year because it was Super Bowl II.
Yeah.
And I think now baseball, because Major League Baseball has World Series champions, they kind of trademarked that.
Well, the baseball, they're called World Series champions.
That's what I said, World Series champions.
Yeah, so it's not. They don't play anybody. I mean, they do play a team outside the U.S. in Toronto, but that's not considered the world.
No, but they are. But it's the World Series, so they're called World Series champions. The NFL now is called Super Bowl champions. NBA is NBA.
Basketball champions of the world is what they call NBA.
Yeah. NBA. Hockey is NHL. So it's all about what's the word I'm looking for? Marketing.
Yeah.
And it's all about copyrights. And when you trademark something, that's money. And if anybody uses it, you get paid.
Every trophy's got its own name. And of course the Vince Lombardi, the Larry O'Brien Trophy in basketball, the Commissioner's Trophy in baseball, and then so Vince Lombardi, Larry O'Brien, Commissioner's Trophy, and the Stanley Cup.
Lord Stanley.
Yeah, they took off Lord. It used to be called Lord Stanley's Cup. Now it's
Lord Stanley's Cup. Now it's just called the Stanley Cup.
Stanley Cup, yeah.
And they didn't name. First of all, now it's called the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Didn't have a name. It wasn't called Vince Lombardi. I don't think it was called Vince Lombardi until 71 or 72.
It was just called the Super Bowl Trophy, I think.
Yep. That's what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just surprised that the Montreal Expos were named after the World Expo.
The World Expo that happened, and now they are isn't it? Didn't they move them to Washington?
Yeah, they're the Washington Nationals.
Yep.
And they may actually they are doing a $850 million remodel of Olympic Stadium.
They want to bring the Expos back.
Yeah. So right now, if the Rays can't get a stadium, they might go to Montreal.
So the Expos will be in the American League.
Well, they may. They may have to reshuffle. But Montreal would be in the American League because they're going to. Major League Baseball is expanded anyway, so they're going to reshuffle divisions here pretty soon. I think the only one. They said the only division that's really not going to have any realignment when realignment happens is the Central.
Okay.
The AL Central, because all the teams are 90 minutes apart.
Okay.
By plane.
Oh,
yeah. Kansas City's the farthest one away, and that's 90 minutes away. Because Chicago, Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit, they're all.
It's all right by each other.
Yeah. Kansas City is the outlier, but there's nowhere else to put Kansas City. You can't put them in the West. They're not far enough west. So,
no, they're in the middle. They're literally in the middle.
Yeah. So they're pretty much saying that's the only one because like you got Pittsburgh in the AL Central.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that.
As regional as you could get it. That's
yeah. But I think the AL Central. I think the Pirates are in the AL Central because of the historical value of all the other teams in that division. Because other than the Brewers, all the other teams in that division have been around since early 1900s.
The Brewers are the old Seattle Pilots.
Yeah.
So
sorry, we got into baseball. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Wow, so we've covered. Just in Vintage Vikings, which it all tied back to some vintage stuff, but we've covered all four sports.
Yeah. I think
It's amazing what we end up talking about on these shows.
yeah. If you guys have any ideas about next show's week, about what you guys want to talk about, the combine coming up, the draft coming up, off season, off
Free
season
agency coming
free
up.
agency coming up, stuff like that. I watched our free agency show about the worst and best free agents that we signed.
Yeah.
You know who we didn't mention?
Who?
Cousins.
I did. I said he was the worst.
Then let's see, there was somebody else too that we missed. No, I watched the show back and I didn't see.
We didn't. I don't think we mentioned Cousins because he was technically still on the team.
But he was still a free agent signing though.
He was a free agent signing. Yeah, but he was one of the ones that I said was not a good one.
Yeah.
So it's. But yeah, we never mentioned Cousins because technically we'd like to forget it, but so yeah, everybody's got DH now, and
everybody plays each other.
Yeah, which is
the universal DH was going to happen because no one wants to see a pitcher hit.
Some pitchers can jack though. There's some people that are like, Vikings are going to end up changing their name. Look at what happened to Washington. The Vikings ain't changing their name.
No one cares.
They're not. Yeah, the Vikings ain't changing their name.
It's funny. It's funny because everybody talks about. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. If you truly look at the history of the Vikings,
it's bad.
They are not nice.
It is bad.
They are not nice people.
It is terrible. I mean, compared to the football team's a bunch of nice guys. The history of the Vikings, oh my God.
They conquered France, was it 6 times? They killed women, they killed children. They burnt down churches and they took all the gold.
Put it this way, one of the heaviest songs ever made in music is about the Vikings. Immigrant Song is about the Vikings.
Well, Fighting Irish, that's a Catholic school. So
yeah, and Irish people do have tempers.
And Notre Dame has already said they're not changing their name.
Notre Dame is not changing their name at all. At all. The Vikings ain't going to change their name. There's too much of it's the reason. Okay, like I said before, when it went down with Daniel Snyder, it's because Daniel Snyder was such a jerk. If Daniel Snyder has showed a little bit of compassion and stuff and worked with those in the indigenous community, it could have been a different story. Yeah. But he was such an a-hole till
yeah,
he was, if he had been a little nicer, he could have kept it.
If he would have brought, let's say, as many as tribe leaders he could have to a, like a convention or written like a boardroom.
If he had sat down with members of the Native American communities, different tribes, different leaders,
an accord,
and had an accord, they could have reached an accord. And if he explained the history and explained the name, listen to both sides and listen to their concerns too, then it could have been worked out. But Daniel Snyder was defiant till the end. And it got to the point where his defiance was going to cost that team money. And when you lost FedEx, there was the problem. Well, and plus, they want to get a stadium back in D.C. And with the sort of negativity that Snyder was bringing, it wasn't going to happen. So,
they want to put a stadium with the RFK Stadium. Is that?
Yeah, they want to put it. I have no problem with the name Commanders. I have a problem with the way their jerseys look, their uniforms. Those are god awful. But I don't have a problem with the name Commanders. But somehow incorporate the past into the present, so people don't forget what they were. You can pay history. You can pay homage to the history in a nice way.
Yeah, and the The thing about history is, and this is happening a lot, is a lot of people don't want to talk about history. Well, if you don't
talk about, you're going to repeat it.
Yeah.
I like that band.
And the lead singer of that band, I don't know if you guys ever saw a show Viking Quest.
I never saw it.
How historical accurate it was. He is for non-professors, he is the leading historian for Vikings. They actually have a song called "The Vikings versus Saxons." There's a group called Saxon.
Yeah, I remember Saxon.
And then I'm on them off to the song with them called "The Vikings versus Saxons."
Saxon is older than me.
They're old, but
they're old
because their song was actually about. Their song was actually because the King Edward was actually the king that got rid of Ragnar, so of course the song is about that, because those two guys fought forever.
Right. Here's the deal, George, with that. The NCAA didn't get the NCAA because of many of them were public institutions. They didn't own the rights to the names, so they were going to get grief for it. When it's a professional night, baby, I will call you. When it's different, when it's a professional team that's making money off of it, usually it's a corporation, which means they're different from a school or anything like that. That changes everything. When you're a business and you use the names, it's Jesus. Oh, Sarah, don't get her started.
See, George, that's the issue.
That's the whole thing. Yeah,
you have a bunch of people who are not even Native American telling Native Americans what they should be offended by. If most of these teams actually talked to the Native Americans, they would find out that they would not want the name changed. Like the Eastern Michigan used to be called the Hurons because of the Huron tribe. The Fighting Sioux of North Dakota. They tried like Louisiana Monroe, they were called the Indians. Okay, I get that. Stanford and the University of Miami of Ohio were both called the Redmen.
Actually, you know what, Curtis, I'm gonna give you some blowback on that. Up here, especially with the Fighting Sioux, there were quite a few Native Americans that protested the name. Quite a few tribes.
I don't think the Sioux.
The Sioux tribes did. The Sioux tribes, the Ojibwe tribes. The ones up here, the Ojibwe tribes did, and they fought it for years. They did.
Well, I know because I talked to a guy who went to Eastern Michigan at the time. They changed their name, and he said that the Huron tribe was proud that they were named the Hurons, but there's not too many Huron Indians around anymore, so they can't really.
Right. Also, Guess what? You want to know who went woke years ago, since you put it that way, George? You know who really went woke back in the 70s? Stanford.
Yep, they were the Redmen. And
they were the Indians.
I thought they were the Redmen.
No, they were the Stanford Indians.
Okay.
They were the Stanford Indians, and they changed their name to the Cardinals.
And now Miami of Ohio was the Redmen. They changed their name to the Red Hawks. They tried to get Florida. See, this is where all the idiocy comes in about this.
Hold on. I got to answer George. George, I've got friends from Grand Forks that are Native American, and I've also got other friends that are Native American that live on the reservations. And many of them did not like the Fighting Sioux name. You had a few that did. You had a few that did not give a damn, just like you had a few that didn't care about the Redskin name. Yep. But then you had those that were offended by it. So it was right along that line. You're going to have those that like it and those that don't. It's been that way for years. Yeah. But the clatter got louder. But then again, when you are a college and they threaten to take your funding, it's going to happen. All the high schools in Minnesota, very few of them have the Native American names. Very few of them are called Indians. I think there's one that still uses an Indian nickname, but most of them have changed. And
Yeah.
the one that still uses the Indian nickname is because Native Americans fought to keep it.
Yeah, that's the where I went. High schools around where I went to was the Vero Beach. One of the team's name is the Vero Beach Indians. Then you have Santa Lucia's Chiefs, and but the Santa Lucia's is an Indian word, and Vero Beach was founded by a tribe, just like Jupiter Warriors was
Mhm.
founded by Indian tribes. So all those city names are actually Indian names. So that's why they. But for going back to the college thing, you actually had people trying to change Florida State Seminoles nickname, not knowing that Florida State can't do anything to their jerseys in any sport without the tribe's permission.
Yeah. And that's where the
Yeah.
tribes are getting. I want to say something with the whole thing with the Redskins, because I believe being that the portrait of the Native American on the helmet was an actual tribe leader, I believe that tribe was getting a kickback or getting some money from it, and all the other there was some sort of financial gain from it. And when you got rid of that, there went the financial gain.
Yeah.
So that, yes, Sarah, don't remind me. Our high school was named the Minutemen. But that was a financial gain.
I know where Sarah's going with this.
Sarah, you know why we were called the Minutemen is because our central was located on Lexington Avenue. And in American history, I think the Battle of Lexington, the charge was led by the Minutemen.
Yeah.
So that's where that's why they named us the
It
Minutemen.
makes sense for UMass to be called the Minutemen.
Yeah, well, we're high school.
But I mean,
We're high school. I mean, well, the other schools were named, one school was called the Scotsmen. One school was called the Governors. The school that was called the Indians changed their name to the Hawks.
What is with that? Why is it when a team changes its name from Indians, they just go to the Hawks?
It's a common name.
Like the Louisiana Monroe, they changed their name from Indian to the Warhawks. The Miami, Ohio, from the Redmen to the Redhawks.
Yeah, they either go to Hawks or Animals. Well, the Canadian football team, the Edmonton Eskimos, they went from Eskimos to Elks.
Yeah. I can understand them wanting to keep the double E.
The double E works. It worked.
But are the Eskimos really, were the Inuit tribes really offended by that nickname?
I don't know. Here's the thing. When it comes to a lot of the stuff with the Native American thing, yeah, I heard from Native Americans. But honestly, as a person of color, because I'm also not only Black, I'm also Native American, Erie, Iroquois, and Sioux, and I'm part Italian. But the only ones I've ever heard complaining about anything being racist and all that shit, honestly, is white folks.
That's why I said.
And I've heard it more from them than I've got white folks telling me what's racist. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you don't have the right to tell somebody else what it is when you're not that race.
I'll let you know if it's racist if I knock your ass out. Then you'll know it's racist.
Like you don't use race for anything, because I hear, because we talk and stuff offline and stuff like that.
Yeah,
when you do think something is racist, you do say it, like the Chief Wahoo logo.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. But yeah, I always find it funny how it's people who look like me telling you or telling a Native American, well, that name's offensive.
And the reason I bring it when I say some Native American, because being that I am close to Native American community, I know people that are Native American. My dear friend Chris King, God rest his soul, diehard Packer fan, he was Native American. He was a teacher. There were Native Americans that thought the name was a slam. It was racist, and depending on how it's used.
Well, you're talking about Chief Wahoo, because that is definitely a caricature. It after a tribe leader or anything
No,
like that.
Chief Wahoo was a racist.
Yeah.
That the way they drew that was meant, and it was the 30s and 40s. Guess what, folks? In the 30s and 40s, you got away with that crap.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, that same brother been on that box of cream of wheat for 100 years. His ass is still grinning.
And
I'm like, come on now. Uncle Ben's had a different couple looks. Aunt Jemima, they finally gave her hair.
boy, that family was mad when they took her name off because she
They were getting paid. They were getting money.
Not only that, they also she started the company.
Yeah, she gave them their likeness.
Yeah. Yeah,
she gave them the No, we're not talking about Wahoo McDaniel, Steve.
See, like even if you look at the old Boston Brave logo, the Indian head they have, that's actually a Cherokee Indian, from what I believe, that they took a picture of. It was a real Cherokee Indian, and they used his image.
Well, and what people don't understand is, as far as the Redskins went, they always had that silhouette of a Native American. It was on their jerseys at one time, and then it was in the I think it was the team logo, but when it became prominent was when they put it on the helmet, and that was when they got from the Blackfeet tribe, and that changed from what Vince Lombardi had, because Lombardi's the one that designed the R with the feather,
right?
And that was his design. So they wore his design for 2 years, kept the jerseys. This is the thing now. They kept the uniform that Lombardi designed, but they changed the helmet to what it was for years.
Yeah.
So, but like we said before, it all goes back to the owner, Daniel Snyder. Daniel Snyder was a prick. Let's just be honest. He was a prick.
I'm surprised he lasted as long as he had, because they were trying to get rid of him for years.
Well, you know why? Because Goodell covered for him. Goodell covered for him in more ways than one. That whole thing with the cheerleaders, when he's in the office playing grab ass with the secretaries, that all got covered up by Goodell because they didn't want the negativity to cloud them. But then Snyder started to think he's invincible, and he started challenging the other owners. And they, right then and there, they had to get him out of there. I did see the Rock's family tree, and he's not kidding. Most of your Samoan wrestlers are all related to the guys that are wrestling right now. You know, it's Cody's got like his dad and his brothers, but Roman and The Rock, that is really the bloodline is really the wrestling family tree. That's, so.
Are you sure it's not Dyke, Sarah? Goodell still has a job because he makes the owners a lot of money.
Yes, that's why Goodell still has a job. He ain't the best owner, but he keeps making the owners money. Yeah. And he does what they say.
Yep.
He does what they say.
As long as they got a puppet in the commissioner's office, he's going to be safe.
Steve, the Fatus have always had jobs in wrestling, especially in WWF/E. Vince has always hired them and had them working for him. Roman's brother worked for WWE. He passed away from cancer, Rosie. But yeah, the Fatus have always had gigs. Now, The Rock is weird because The Rock's mother, her father, she was part of wrestling at one time too, but her father is Chief Peter Maivia. And he's got I forget what his other name, his real name is. But his dad was Rocky Johnson, and his dad was black. And so he is Samoan and part black. Nia Jax is his cousin, is The Rock's cousin. Oh God. But yeah, the Mayavillas and the Fatus and the Anois are predominant names, and there's, like I said, that family tree accurate as hell when it comes to pro wrestling. The Samoans have owned wrestling, especially the Fatu family, especially that side of the family.
Yeah.
So you know what? Thanks again, everybody, for listening to our talk about everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Actually, Sarah, Samoans have always had a presence in the NFL.
Yep.
They always have, and they've always been good. I mean, the Vikings had Al Noga was a beast.
Yep.
Back in the day.
Ezra
Unfortunately, Esra Tuaolo, we had Tanu Alapate as a linebacker. We've had some really good Samoan players.
Moses Tupupu.
Mosi Tutupu was with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Now here's a kicker: Roman Reigns was a Viking.
Polamalu.
And Troy Polamalu.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns was a Viking.
Yep. They actually saved his life.
They're the ones that discovered he had leukemia. He had cancer. So, Steve, and you're a wrestling guy. You know the story on Jimmy Snuka and how Vince helped that family big time. And I'll just put it this way for those that don't know.
That's why my brother-in-law, who used to do WWE, understands why people hate Vince, but he's also said Vince has done a lot of good things as well. And
I'll put it this way. Snuka got away with murder.
Pretty much.
Literally got away with murder. And for those that don't know, look up the story.
But watch Beyond the Ring, this Jimmy Snuka flyer.
Yep. But once again, thanks everybody for tuning in.
I don't know if we're going to do our this show Friday.
I think we're doing it next Friday.
So next Friday, it's just going to be open talk.
Well, you know what? It's after the Super Bowl. Should we do one?
We can do one tomorrow. We can do one Friday night.
Where everybody just comes on and talks?
Yep. Steve can tell his story that he wants to come on and talk about.
Sarah.
I don't know if we'll go 5 hours again.
No, we're going to have to cut it off at like 3. I was seriously.
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I was like, I ended up crashing right after. But yeah, we could do it. We could do it. Oh Jesus, Sarah.
Yeah, we could. So this Friday we'll do another. We'll do another
town hall chat. Put it that way.
Town hall chat. Yeah, talk about anything you want. Hell, okay.
Yeah. We'll do our post Super Bowl where people can vent and talk about the game or just talk about life in general.
And speaking of which, the parade.
Oh yeah.
So as far as I know, all the kids are going to.
The lady, from what I understand, the lady that was killed was a DJ at a station in Kansas.
Okay.
And she passed away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
all the kids are going to survive though. So if you guys don't know, just look it up. That's all we're going to say about it.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll have a all you can chat Friday.
Yeah. All you can chat Friday. Talk about anything you want.
And then we'll probably do that every 2 weeks. Yeah. If you have any ideas for us to do for vintage shows, please let us know. We are open to suggestions. So, but once again, I want to thank everybody for supporting us. Hit that like button.
Hit like and share. Make sure you hit the bell too, so when we do go live, it shows up. I think you guys pretty much do, because as soon as I hit that live button, there's people join the chat. So
they're already chatting away.
Yeah. So, but this was less of we started off as a Vikings vintage show, but turned into a town hall talk. But we'll finish. Right. We'll definitely we'll actually bring people on Friday. So, like I said, like Tony said, appreciate you guys being here. You don't have to be here. but we do appreciate it. So until next time.